Some people break your heart, some break your trust, and some break both with the person you trusted most. I never thought I'd be the kind of person who'd plan revenge. I'm not confrontational. I don't like drama. I've always been the guy who keeps his head down, works hard, and trusts the people he loves. But when you find the woman you were going to marry in bed with your best friend, something inside you changes. And when they don't even apologize, when they act like you're the problem for being upset, that's when you stop being nice. Her name was Melissa. We'd been together for 4 years, engaged for 6 months. The wedding was 3 months away. We had the venue booked, the invitations printed, everything planned down to the flowers. I thought we were happy. I thought we were building something. I was wrong. My best friend's name was Trevor. We'd known each other since college. He was my groomsman. He helped me pick out the engagement ring. He was at every birthday, every holiday, every major moment in my life for over a decade. When I got promoted at work, he was the first person I called. When my dad died, he drove 6 hours to be at the funeral. That's the kind of friendship we had, or at least that's what I thought. It was a Tuesday afternoon in March. I left work early because I had a migraine. I texted Melissa to let her know I was coming home, but she didn't respond. That wasn't unusual. She often had her phone on silent during the day. I pulled into the driveway and noticed Trevor's car parked down the street. I didn't think much of it at first. Maybe he was visiting a neighbor or something. I walked into the house through the front door. It was quiet, too quiet. And then I heard it, voices coming from upstairs, from our bedroom. I stood at the bottom of the stairs for what felt like an eternity. My brain was trying to come up with explanations. Maybe they were planning a surprise for me. Maybe they were wrapping gifts. Maybe there was some rational reason why my fiancé and my best friend were alone in my house, in my bedroom, in the middle of the day. But deep down I already knew. I walked up those stairs slowly. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. When I reached the bedroom door, it was halfway open, and there they were, in my bed, the bed I'd saved up for months to buy. The bed where Melissa and I had talked about our future, made plans, dreamed together. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I just stood there. And when they finally noticed me, there was this moment of frozen silence. Trevor scrambled to grab his clothes. Melissa pulled the sheet up over herself, and then she said the words I'll never forget. "This isn't what it looks like." I almost laughed, because what else could it possibly look like? Trevor left without saying a word, just grabbed his things and walked past me like I was invisible. Melissa sat on the edge of the bed, wrapped in that sheet, and tried to explain. She said it had only happened a few times. She said it didn't mean anything. She said she still loved me, still wanted to marry me, and that we could work through this if I just calmed down, like I was overreacting. Like walking in on your fiancé with your best friend was something you were supposed to just handle maturely. I left the house, drove to a hotel, spent the night staring at the ceiling, trying to process what had just happened. Melissa called 17 times. Sent 43 text messages. Each one was some variation of "please let me explain," or "I made a mistake," or "don't throw away what we have." Trevor sent one message. It just said, "I'm sorry, man." That was it. 4 words for destroying a decade of friendship. The next morning I went back to the house when I knew Melissa would be at work. I needed clothes, I needed documents, and I needed something else. I needed proof, because I knew Melissa. I knew how she operated. She was going to try to control the narrative. She was going to tell her friends and family that I was being unreasonable, that she made one tiny mistake, that I was abandoning her. I went into our bedroom and checked the security camera I'd installed 6 months earlier. We'd had a break-in in our neighborhood, and I'd put up a camera in the bedroom that faced the door just for safety. I'd honestly forgotten it was even there, but when I checked the footage, my stomach dropped. This wasn't a few times. This had been going on for 7 months. 7 months of them meeting in my house while I was at work. 7 months of lies, of him coming over for game nights and staying after I went to bed. 7 months of her kissing me goodbye in the morning and texting him before I even left the driveway. I sat there and watched weeks of footage. Not because I'm a masochist, but because I needed to understand the scope of the betrayal. And what I saw made me realize something. They weren't guilty. They weren't ashamed. In one video I could hear them laughing about how clueless I was. In another, Melissa joked about me working late so they could have more time. That's when I decided I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to give them the satisfaction of seeing me broken. I was going to wait. I was going to be patient. And I was going to make sure that everyone who mattered knew exactly who they really were. I moved out that week, told Melissa the engagement was off. She cried, begged me to reconsider, said she'd do anything. I stayed calm, told her I needed space. She bought it. What she didn't know was that I'd already started planning. 2 months later, Melissa called me. She was crying. She said she'd made the biggest mistake of her life. She said Trevor had confessed his feelings for her and that they were actually in love. She said they were getting married, and she wanted to invite me to the wedding. I know, it sounds insane, but Melissa had this way. Rewriting history in her mind. In her version of events, we had drifted apart and she had found real love with Trevor. She wanted us all to be mature adults about it. She actually said, "I hope we can all still be friends." I told her I'd think about it, then I told her I'd come. The wedding was scheduled for late May. Outdoor venue, 200 guests, live band, the whole production. Melissa's parents paid for most of it. Trevor's family flew in from across the country. I received my invitation in the mail, my name printed in elegant script on expensive cardstock. I RSVP'd yes. For 2 months I kept my head down. I was polite when Melissa texted me. I didn't cause problems. I let them think I'd moved on, that I was being the bigger person. Meanwhile, I prepared. I contacted a lawyer, made sure what I was planning was legal. It was. Then I contacted a tech friend who helped me compile the security footage into a clean, time-stamped video file. We included audio, we included dates, we made it undeniable. The day of the wedding arrived. I wore a suit. I brought a gift, a silver picture frame. I sat in the back during the ceremony. Watched Melissa walk down the aisle in a white dress, her father crying with pride. Watched Trevor stand at the altar with his groomsmen, grinning like he'd won the lottery. I waited. The reception started. Dinner was served, speeches began. Melissa's maid of honor talked about true love finding a way. Trevor's brother made a joke about when you know, you know. Then the best man finished his toast and the DJ asked if anyone else wanted to say a few words. I stood up. Melissa's face went pale. Trevor looked confused. I walked to the front of the room, took the microphone and smiled at the crowd. Hi everyone. For those who don't know me, my name's Connor. I'm actually Melissa's ex-fiancé. I know, weird that I'm here, right? A few uncomfortable laughs. Melissa invited me because she wanted to show there were no odd feelings, that we're all adults, that love is complicated. I paused, looked directly at her. But I think before we celebrate this marriage, everyone should know how it started. I pulled out my phone, connected it to the venue's speaker system. I'd asked the DJ earlier if I could play a song dedication and he'd helped me set it up. This is security footage from my home, from the bedroom Melissa and I shared, starting 7 months before our engagement ended. I pressed play. The audio filled the room, crystal clear, unmistakable. Melissa's voice, Trevor's voice, dates and timestamps in the corner of the screen. The projection screen behind the head table, the one that had been showing their engagement photos, now showed the truth. I didn't watch the video. I watched the room. Melissa's mother stood up and walked out, her hand over her mouth. Trevor's father started yelling. Bridesmaids were crying. Groomsmen were staring at Trevor with disgust. Melissa was screaming at me to turn it off, but her voice was drowned out by the audio of her and Trevor mocking me from months ago. I let 30 seconds play. That's all it took. Then I stopped the video, unplugged my phone and spoke into the microphone one last time. Congratulations on your marriage. I hope it lasts longer than your integrity. I left the microphone on the table, walked out of the venue and drove home. My phone exploded. Messages from people I hadn't talked to in years. Melissa's friends calling me cruel. Trevor's brother saying I was a psychopath. But I also got messages from Melissa's younger sister thanking me. From mutual friends who said they'd suspected something but didn't want to believe it. From Trevor's ex-girlfriend who said she'd been gaslit for months when she accused him of cheating. Melissa and Trevor still got married that night. At least that's what I heard. Most of the guests had left. Both families were livid. The photographer refused to finish the job. But they went through with it anyway, standing in front of an almost empty room. They divorced 8 months later. I don't feel guilty. I don't feel bad. I spent years being the good guy, the loyal guy, the guy who trusted people even when I shouldn't have. And where did that get me? Betrayed by the two people I loved most. Some people say I went too far, that I should have just moved on quietly. But those people have never had their entire reality dismantled by someone they trusted. They've never had to smile and nod while people tell them to be the bigger person about something that shattered them. I didn't ruin Melissa and Trevor's wedding. They did that themselves. I just made sure everyone knew.